The Saliva of States welcomes you to an experience larger than life.
Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next hour. US President Joe Biden stays defiant as calls to him stepping aside grow louder and shriller within the party. Says Trump shouting distracted him, calls his debate against Trump a bad episode. Iran's moderate candidate Masoud Pezeshkian wins runoff presidential election, defeating his hardliner opponent Saeed Jalili. UK new Prime Minister Keir Starmer to hold first cabinet meeting on Saturday, vows to rebuild Britain. Likely curtains on Cristiano Ronaldo's international career as Portugal exit Euro in a penalty shootout against France. Spain win the battle of skill and stamina in a high-octane clash with Germany. And on to the details now. US President Joe Biden again called his debate against Donald Trump a bad episode. In a first interview following the presidential debate, Biden said that his shaky performance was due to poor preparation, exhaustion and illness. In an interview to ABC, he added that it was no one else's fault but his own and that he hadn't rewatched his debate performance. Biden's comments came in a clip of an interview that is being closely watched by Democrats concerned about the president's ability to serve another 4 years or beat Republican Trump in November's election after his faltering debate performance on the 27th of June.
It was a bad episode. No indication of any serious condition. I was exhausted. I didn't listen to my instincts in terms of preparing, and I had a bad night.
Well, a delegation of Democratic governors has met with Joe Biden following last week's debate performance that raised concerns about the U.S. president's mental fitness. Among them was California Governor Gavin Newsom, a longtime ally of the president. While Newsom's team says the California governor was there to stand with Biden, he's also seen as a possible replacement. DD India correspondent Ara Spitzer reports for more from San Francisco.
With simmering concerns over Joe Biden's lackluster debate performance, speculation continues to grow on who might step in if the 81-year-old president bows out of his re-election bid, even though he insists he won't.
To the state of
One candidate often mentioned is California Governor Gavin Newsom, who's made a name for himself with his fierce criticism of Republicans like former President Donald Trump.
The governor and his team have positioned himself as a national leading Democratic voice and figure, someone who won't take sand kicked in their face by Republicans.
However, it's another Californian who may stand in Newsom's way.
The problem is that his political cousin is the vice president of the United States, and that's Kamala Harris from California.
The vice president, whose mother was from Chennai, India, has faced questions about her viability as a candidate on the national stage. Still, her supporters believe that she should be first in line if Biden falters.
You know, listen, she's the vice president. She's a black woman. That's very important in the Democratic Party. It's very important to the Democratic voter base. She's been underestimated most of her life, and she's done very well for herself. And I think she'd still be a very formidable candidate if she was at the top of the ballot.
A dream built on pushing boundaries.
Polls haven't shown that the vice president is weaker than other candidates, like Gavin Newsom, but the situation may change rapidly. However, the challenge from Harris and other leading Democrats like Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer isn't the only issue for Newsom in a potential presidential bid. One of the biggest problems for the California governor is that the state he has led for the past 5 years is currently viewed negatively by many Americans due to issues such as homelessness and crime. However, at 56 years old, more than 2 decades younger than both Joe Biden and Donald Trump, Newsom may be well positioned to energize voters concerned about the ages of the current candidates. Ira Spitzer reporting in San Francisco for DD India.
Well, the U.S. says it will send more than 80 of its newest and most advanced fighter jets to Japan as part of a $10 billion modernization plan. The upgrade comes amid growing tensions in the region. Tony Waterman has more on this. Take a look.
The Pentagon says it will deploy 36 F-15EXs and 48 F-35A aircraft at different bases in Japan. These are some of the most advanced fighter jets, not only in the U.S. arsenal, but in the world. The F-15EX has several superpowers. It is the fastest fighter jet in the world, and it can carry more missiles, up to 12 advanced medium-range air-to-air missiles. And those missiles can be fired accurately from a much further distance, helping to keep the jets undetectable and also the pilots safe. This transition to Japan, though, won't take place overnight. The Defense Department says it will take several years to rotate these fighter jets in, but officials say it's meant to bolster regional deterrence and strengthen peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific region. Now, no country was named in the announcement, but experts say this upgrade is meant to send a message to China, Russia, and North Korea. Japan is locked in territorial disputes with Russia in the north and China in the East China Sea. North Korea has fired ballistic missiles over Japan and is stockpiling weapons. And Japan's southern island of Okinawa is only about 700 kilometers from Taiwan, which Beijing has said it wants to reunite with the mainland, even by force. Now, the U.S. maintains a very large presence in Japan. Roughly 54,000 military personnel are stationed there, which is the highest number of any overseas placements. Tony Waterman in Austin, Texas, reporting for DD India.
France will head to legislative runoff election on Sunday as voters face uncertain political future. The leading far right is unsure to garner enough National Assembly seats for an absolute majority, which can result in a political deadlock. Marine Le Pen's Eurosceptic anti-immigration national rally topped the parliamentary election's first round, opening the prospect of the far right leading a French government for the first time since World War II. Whereas striving to impede the far right, France's political parties have scrambled to form alliances. Earlier, French Prime Minister Gabriel Attal and Culture Minister Rachida Dati joined a presidential party candidate on the last day of campaigning on Friday to drum up support ahead of a cliffhanger runoff. Parties across the political spectrum urged French voters to vote massively on Sunday.
The difference between us and the others is that we are not ready to promise everything and anything to be elected. If you listen to the opposition parties, we could reduce all the VAT rates, remove taxes, raise all spending, and do it all like magic. But in reality, these are lies. They are lying to the French. The day after will be terrible. Let me tell you, we are proposing a program that is credible, serious, and ambitious for the French.
Well, the far-right National Rally is said to be the biggest party in Parliament based on the polls ahead of the second round of the French general election on Sunday. If they win an outright majority, France would have its first far-right government since the Second World War. But rival parties on the left and the centre hope their voters come together to block the National Rally's path to power. DD India correspondent Ross Cullen reports for more.
France is in uncharted territory. Following the first round of the snap general election, the far-right National Rally Party is now the dominant political force in the country, even if they do not secure an outright majority in the upcoming second round. Jordan Bardella, who is of Italian and Algerian descent, represents the new face of the National Rally. He's 28 years old, was raised by a single mother, and is popular on TikTok. But for Jordan Bardella to be Prime Minister, in the event that the far right wins an absolute majority, there would have to be a so-called cohabitation agreement of power sharing between him and the anti-far right centrist President Macron. And Emmanuel Macron's once powerful Renaissance party is fading from view, projected to come third in the second and final vote. The leftist coalition, the New Popular Front, came second in the first round of voting. Its politicians have ambitions of their own for the runoffs. Despite four parties jostling for space under one umbrella, the alliance aims to create an upset, win a majority, and install a left-wing prime minister. Although the financial markets rallied after the first-round election results pointed towards a hung parliament, the political climate in France remains tense, with the potential for anti-nationalist demonstrations if the far right do take power. Ross Cullen in Paris, reporting for DD India.
And Iran's Interior Ministry announced the runoff presidential elections results on Saturday, declaring the low-profile moderate Masoud Pezeshkian as the winner. As per ministry, Pezeshkian defeated Saeed Jalili amidst a tight race. Polling ended at midnight in Iran after being extended for 3 times for a total of 6 hours. The Interior Ministry said that a voter turnout in Iran's runoff presidential election was at 49.8%. The runoff was conducted after a June 28th ballot with historically low turnout when over 60% of Iranian voters abstained from the snap election for a successor to Ibrahim Raisi following his death in a helicopter crash. And for more, we have our correspondent Akshay Dongre joining us. Well, Akshay, good morning. Reformist candidate Pezeshkian wins in a tight race. He had campaigned on relaxing the hijab enforcement and also reaching out to the West, though he too for decades had supported Khamenei and Iran's paramilitary Revolutionary Guard. How do you see the results?
Well, when you look at the reformist candidate, Pezeshkian, Masoud Pezeshkian, who has in fact during his campaigning as well said that he will be reaching out to the West, he will be talking, he will not be shunning anybody. He's a reformist in nature. He has talked about these anti-hijab protests that have been going on. He has talked about reforms in the society of Iran, where on the other hand, he has also supported the top leadership of the country, the conservative leadership of the country, which shows two things: that Masoud Pezeshkian is a candidate that is trying to strike a balance between the traditional government of the country, whereas he's also trying to bring certain reforms. Now, as far as the biggest bone of contention between the West and the Iranian regime is concerned was about the nuclear deal that both were trying to finalize. However, there were certain roadblocks in it. And then there were some problems from the US government side as well. However, with Masoud Pezeshkian coming to the front and talking about reform, talking about reaching out to the West, it seems that the sanctions that Iran is so badly hit by for the past several years may see some sort of relaxation if Mr. Masoud Pezeshkian is able to strike a deal with the West as far as the economy of Iran is concerned. That is going to be a huge help as far as the Iranian economy is concerned, given the fact that it has been battered continuously, especially in the last 1 year with the conflicts growing in the Middle East and tensions rising, especially in the wake of Israel-Hamas conflict that has been going on for almost a year now.
Right. Also, as we mentioned about the nuclear deal, how do you see Pezeshkian win affecting the country's foreign policy, especially towards the West, and how will they help in Iran's international standing?
Well, West has been trying to increasingly isolate Iran for the past several years now, be it sanctions, be it not just economic sanction, but other kind of restrictions as well, boycotting certain of Iran's products and, creating problems in trade as far as Iranian petroleum products are concerned. So all of these things cumulatively were impacting Iran's economy in a big way. A country in the Middle East that that was known for its for the kind of reforms that it was steadily making for the advancements, not just in an economy but in other aspects of society as well. The sanctions that were put on by the West battered the Iranian economy, though they have been trying to come out of that. But if Masood Pezeshkian is able to strike a deal with the West and is able to get some sanctions lifted, it's going to be a huge help, a huge relief for the Iranian economy, which is already moving forward. But with the sanctions somewhat lifted, it is going to be a huge runoff as far as the economy of Iran is concerned, and that depends on the foreign policy that Mr. Pezeshkian is allowed to make, given the fact that there are other leaderships as well, especially Mr. Khomeini, when we talk about the Iranian government and the society and how it works.
All right, Akshay, thank you so much for sharing that update with us. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Kenya's Ruto announces sweeping spending cuts in budget following violent protest. Chinese President Xi Jinping hailed his talks with Tajik President, opening up new prospects for bilateral cooperation. And we'll give you an update on Hurricane Beryl as it made landfall in Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula lately. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. Lepakshi Khurana and an update on UK now. UK new Prime Minister Keir Starmer will hold the first meeting of his new cabinet on Saturday as he begins his tenure after a landslide victory. Keir got straight to work on Friday as he met King Charles and was formally named Prime Minister, assembling the country's first Labour cabinet in last 14 years. The Prime Minister confirmed Rochelle Reeves as Britain's first woman Chancellor and Angela Rayner as the Deputy Prime Minister. He pledged action to fix the country, not just words, and said that improvements would take time. The centre-left Labour won a massive majority in the 650-seat parliament. And visiting Chinese President Xi Jinping hailed his talks with Tajik President Emomali Rahmon as fruitful and rich in content, saying they signed a joint statement on the elevation of bilateral ties to a comprehensive strategic cooperative partnership in the new era, made a joint decision to build a China-Tajikistan community with a shared future defined by lasting friendship, sharing weal and woe, mutual benefits and win-win results from a higher starting point, and witnessed the exchange of more than 20 cooperation documents in various fields, which gives a new characterization to the bilateral ties and has opened up new prospects for bilateral cooperation. Also, Chinese president, whose last state visit to Tajikistan came 5 years ago, said he once again felt the enduring brotherly friendship between the Chinese and Tajik people upon his return to the Central Asian country. And Kenyan President William Ruto announced sweeping spending cuts in the budget on Friday. The government has also slashed advisory staff by half and dissolved 47 state corporations. Ruto seeks to plug a $2.7 billion hole in the budget after withdrawing a controversial tax hike that sparked a nationwide protest. The cuts outlined by Ruto will reduce government expenditure by $1.4 billion in the current fiscal year that started on the 1st of July. The remaining gap of 169 billion shillings will be covered through increased borrowing, raising Kenya's fiscal deficit to 4.6% of GDP from a targeted 3.3%.
We have since, after extensive consultations, struck a middle ground, and we will be proposing to the National Assembly a budget cut of not the entire 346, but a budget cut of 177 billion and borrowing the difference. Whatever we are going to borrow, the difference, will increase our fiscal deficit from what I intended to be 3.3% of our GDP. It will now go up to 4.6% of GDP.
Moreover, Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico appeared in public on Friday for the first time since a May assassination attempt. Fico attended an evening ceremony marking Saint Cyril and Methodius Day, a public holiday in Slovakia. He hit back against progressive and liberal ideologies, backing Hungarian leader Viktor Orban's visit to Moscow. Fico is recovering after being shot 4 times at close range in mid-May this year.
Vážený pán prezident.
We must all together build a huge dam against the nonsensical, progressive and liberal ideologies that are spreading like a cancer. They are ideologies that are damaging this country. They are ideologies that were created perhaps only the day before yesterday. I do not want Slovakia to be among the countries that make a caricature of Western civilization.
Well, Russia says its forces seized part of key Ukraine town of Chasiv Yar, where Moscow has been pressing for months. Chasiv Yar is near Bakhmut in eastern Ukraine. The claim from Moscow came just after Kyiv said Russian strikes on the industrial city of Dnipro had killed 5 people and wounded nearly 36 more, including a 14-year-old girl. In the meantime, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban called for ceasefire after talks with Putin in Moscow. Desha Chernyshova has more from Moscow. Take a look.
Russian Ministry of Defense said Moscow now has the control over the Novy district in the city of Chasiv Yar in the Donetsk People's Republic. Russian armed forces have carried out 23 group strikes against military targets of Ukraine over the past week, and Moscow says Ukraine lost 1,300 soldiers over that period of time. In the meantime, Russian President Vladimir Putin said Moscow is open to a political or diplomatic solution of the conflict in Ukraine, but ruled out the possibility of a ceasefire unless serious negotiations start. He said that any pause could be used by Kyiv to rearm. After the talks with Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban in Moscow on Friday, he said Moscow stands for a complete and final end to the conflict. He noted that among Russian conditions is a complete withdrawal of Ukrainian troops from 4 regions Russia now claims as its own. Hungarian Prime Minister said Russia and Ukraine have very different positions. As earlier in the week he has traveled to Kyiv, Orban said he discussed the shortest path to peace with Putin in Moscow. Dasha Chernyshova in Moscow, reporting for DD India.
And NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said NATO is helping Ukraine to prepare for joining the military alliance on Friday. He added all the efforts are being made to make Ukraine stronger and better.
We will agree to work more closely with the Ukrainian armed forces, including at the new NATO-Ukraine Joint Analysis, Training and Education Center in Poland. We will also work together to build Ukraine's defense industry and deepen our cooperation on innovation. All the work we are doing together is making Ukraine stronger, more interoperable and better prepared than ever to join our alliance.
And Kansas' highest court on Friday permanently barred the state from enforcing a law banning the most common second trimester abortion procedure, saying the ban violated the right to abortion under the state constitution that the court had recognized in 2019. The 5-1 ruling from the Kansas Supreme Court, with one of the 7 justices not participating, leaves in place a lower court order blocking the law which banned a procedure known as dilation and extraction, with a narrow exception for medical emergencies. The vote came after the U.S. Supreme Court overturned its landmark Roe v. Wade precedent, which had established a right to abortion nationwide, allowing many Republican-led states to ban or restrict abortion and triggering a wave of litigation. And an update on storm Hurricane Beryl made landfall on Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula on Friday morning after it ripped through Jamaica and Caribbean earlier this week, leaving 11 dead as southern Texas and the Gulf Coast brace for its arrival this weekend. The core of the storm, downgraded from a hurricane, crossed the Yucatan Peninsula with its maximum wind speed slowing to around 65 miles after striking near the coastal beach resort of Tulum. The storm, which at one point intensified to a massive Category 5 hurricane, left a deadly trail of destruction across the Caribbean earlier this week. And affected by tropical storm Beryl, tourists were stranded at Cancun Airport, one of Mexico's hotspots. Passengers await their flight in long lines and corridors. According to the local media, Cancun International Airport had 332 cancelled flights on Friday. Also, Hurricane Beryl pummeled Jamaica with winds and rain that caused floods and widespread power outages. 10 roofs were blown away, homes completely destroyed, and hundreds on the southwest side of the island now homeless by Beryl. Beryl swept Jamaica's southern coast, causing widespread damage and evacuations from flood-prone areas by emergency workers. Beryl moved away from Jamaica early on Thursday. And some other weather updates now. Massive landslides and floods triggered by continuous rainfall plagued China's central Hubei province on Friday. Record rains have swamped southern and eastern regions downstream of the middle and lower reaches of the Yangtze River, damaging farmlands and washing away small businesses along village roads. The rescuers delivered supplies from lifeboats to stranded residents. The streets in southwestern Yunnan province were also flooded due to rains. Meanwhile, the farmers in China were also facing tough decisions after severe flooding damaged their seeds and crops in the fields. The unpredictable rainfall has affected about 340,000 people and businesses in China. The United Nations International Organization for Migration built a humanitarian shelter to host victims of the ruthless floods that battered South Brazil. The Canoas complex has the capacity for around 630 people, with bedrooms and spaces for laundry, refectory and personal hygiene. The UN plans to open 2 more humanitarian shelters between Canoas and Porto Alegre with a capacity for 2,400 people. The devastating rains killed 176 people and forced around 420,000 people to leave their homes. Also, the state of emergency remains in place in Sakha-Yakutia Republic in Russia as wildfire continues to rage over vast areas of several regions. As per the officials, the estimated 123 wildfires are still active across the republic on the total area of more than 300,000 hectares. Hundreds of firefighters and pieces of special hardware have been deployed to tackle blaze. Around 100 tons of water has been dropped on a wildfire near one of the villages. Earlier, a federal state of emergency due to the threat posed by wildfires was declared in the Republic of Sakha-Yakutia as well as in the remote South Siberian region of A wildfire also broke out in Mariposa in California on Thursday, rapidly consuming significant acreage and prompting evacuation orders. The fire, fueled by dry conditions and strong winds, has already burned over 800 acres and continues to spread further. Firefighters are working to contain the blaze, but the challenging weather conditions are hampering their efforts. The intense heat wave gripping the region has exacerbated the situation, leading to increased fire activity and making containment efforts more difficult. As of now, the fire's exact cause remains under investigation. Evacuation orders have been issued for several communities in Mariposa County. Temporary shelters have been set up to accommodate those displaced by the fire. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Venezuela marked the 213th anniversary of its independence with the traditional military parade in Caracas on Friday. The occasion had a political twist as the country heads into a presidential election on 28th of July. Venezuela President Nicolas Maduro said he would remain as the commander-in-chief. The dramatic eruption of Stromboli volcano caught eyes of local residents and tourists. They did not miss the opportunity to capture the pyroclastic flow moving from the top of the volcano into the sea, releasing a column of smoke. Sphere celebrated the one-year anniversary of lighting up the exosphere, the world's largest LED screen, with a mesmerizing show on the 4th of July. The Sphere 4th of July celebration was a grand tribute to the United States. The show featured more than 500 drones forming shapes of fireworks, stars and other designs to complement the vibrant visuals of the exosphere, taking the spectacle to new heights. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be on a two-nation official tour from 8th of July to 10th of July. IMD issues red alert across 9 states in North India. An esteemed Shaurya Chakra awarded at Defence Investiture ceremony upon 5 personnel for their courage and bravery while serving the nation. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Kuranan. Time now for a quick recap of the headlines. US President Joe Biden stays defiant as calls to him stepping aside grow louder and shriller within the party. Says Trump shouting distracted him, causes debate against Trump a bad episode. Iran's moderate candidate Masoud Pezeshkian wins runoff presidential election, defeating his hardline opponent Saeed Jalili. UK new Prime Minister Keir Starmer to hold first cabinet meeting on Saturday vows to rebuild Britain. Unlikely curtains on Cristiano Ronaldo's international career as Portugal exit Euro in a penalty shootout against France. Spain win the battle of skill and stamina in a high-octane clash with Germany. And now moving on to some other stories. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be in Russia on July 8th and 9th and hold talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin to hold the 22nd India-Russia annual summit. It will be Modi's first trip to Russia since Moscow launched its military offensive in Ukraine. The visit also follows Prime Minister Modi's re-election for a third successive term. PM Modi last visited Russia in 2019 for an economic forum in the far eastern port of Vladivostok. He last travelled to Moscow in 2015.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be on a two-nation tour from 8th July to 10th of July. He will be on an official visit to Russia on the invitation of Russian President Vladimir Putin on the 8th of July. Both the leaders will engage in bilateral talks and discuss a range of issues from defence, culture, regional and global developments. India and Russia share a cordial bilateral relation. The growing investment ties between both the countries stands testimony to the long-standing friendship of India and Russia.
India-Russia bilateral trade has seen a sharp increase in 2023-24. It has since touched close to $65 billion, primarily due to strong energy cooperation between India and Russia. With Indian exports of $4 billion and Indian imports being close to 60 billion, trade remains imbalanced, which is a matter of priority in our discussions with the Russian side.
The Prime Minister of India will start his second leg of the tour to Vienna, the capital of Austria, on 9th of July. This is the first Prime Minister level visit to Austria from India after a long gap of 40 years. India and Austria will be engaging in multiple bilateral and delegation level talks during the visit. The focus areas during the visit to Vienna are likely to be business, innovation and technology.
This will be Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi's first visit to Austria. The last Prime Ministerial visit, I must mention, from India to Austria took place more than 40 years ago. In terms of programming elements, the Prime Minister, besides the ceremonial welcome being accorded to him, would also call on the President of Austria and hold restricted delegation level talks, as also a high-level business engagement in Austria.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to the two nations is going to strengthen ties between India and Russia, and the first Prime Minister level visit to Austria will further enhance the bilateral ties between India and Austria. With Dibendu Mondal, Tanvi Taneja for DD India.
And for the first time in the history of Jammu and Kashmir Police, 5 Shaurya Chakras, India's third highest peacetime gallantry award, was bestowed upon 5 personals for their courage and bravery while serving the nation. President of India, Draupadi Murmu, conferred the Shaurya Chakra upon the officers. The Ministry of Defence had announced this award to these brave hearts on Independence Day 2023 and Republic Day 2024. And now some weather updates. The Indian Meteorological Department on Friday issued a red alert for extremely heavy rainfall in several states, including Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Delhi, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh. A true from Rajasthan to the northeast and an active monsoon over northern West Bengal are likely to bring heavy rainfall in these states. According to the Met Department data, heavy rainfall in northwest and northeast India over the past few days has brought down the overall monsoon precipitation deficit in the country from 11% on June 30th to just 3% on Thursday. And the flood situation in Assam remains critical as over 24.2 lakh people remain affected by floods in 30 districts. Over 47,000 inmates are taking shelter in 612 relief camps. Meanwhile, Assam Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sharma on Friday visited Dibrugarh urban flood-affected areas and took stock of situation in flood-affected areas of Kawang and Tengaghat area of Dibrugarh district. The IMD has issued orange alert for Assam and Arunachal Pradesh as heavy rainfalls are expected, and yellow alert in Himalayan West Bengal, Sikkim, Assam, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Tripura and Nagaland. And for more, we are joined on phone by Subina Roy. Subina, the IMD has issued orange alert for Assam and Arunachal Pradesh. Rainfall still going on. What's the situation right now there?
Yes, Lepakshi, the IMD has issued orange alert for Assam and Arunachal Pradesh today, and other northeastern states are on watch mode, that is on yellow alert. The situation here is still critical, Lepakshi, as the Brahmaputra River at all levels is above danger level, except in Brahmaputra, except in Dibrugarh, where it is under control. And the other rivers which are above danger level are Buri Dihing, Dikho, Disam, Dhansiri, Jiaborali, Kopili, Basak, Kachakhal, Kushiari rivers are flowing above danger level. Talking about the population affected, Lepakshi, over 24 lakh people are affected. In the most affected district right now, as per the latest bulletin, is in Dhubri, where about 7 lakh people are affected. Almost 30 districts of Assam are affected, Lepakshi, and more than 3,000 villages are affected. Over 90,000 people are living in relief camps and relief distribution centers. Yesterday, over 612 relief camps were set up, Lepakshi. Around 273 relief camps and 339 RDCs. And yesterday, the Assam CM had visited Dibrugarh flood-affected area. He had visited the urban areas which were flooded, and he has assured that proper drainage system, the government would strengthen the drainage system and clear off the drainage system so that there is proper drainage out there. He also visited the Tengaghat area and Kwang area, where the tributary of Brahmaputra, the Buri Dihing, has breached the embankment and several villages have been inundated. So he visited the relief camps out there, and he has assured proper flood relief assistance to each and every one.
Right, Subina. Thank you so much for that update from there. And moving on, the Amarnath Yatra has been temporarily suspended from both Pahalgaon and Baltal routes to Holy Cave on Saturday due to heavy rainfall. Heavy rainfall lashed the Holy Cave and nearby areas, leaving the track slippery. The Holy Shrine is located at an altitude of 12,756 feet above the sea level. Over 1 lakh pilgrims have offered prayers at the Holy Shrine since the Yatra officially commenced on the 29th of June from the twin base camps in the valley. The 52-day-long annual Yatra, which will conclude on the 19th of August. And for more, we have Shabir Dar joining us from Kashmir. Good morning, Shabir. As the Holy Yatra, we know, has been halted on both the tracks and pilgrims stranded in such large numbers, what is the situation there right now?
Yeah, good morning. The Yatra has been suspended temporarily because of the bad weather on the route, on the both axes of the Shri Amarnath Shrine Yatra routes. There has been a Met advisory, prediction for a light to heavy rainfall on the routes from yesterday. We saw in Srinagar and other parts receiving light to moderate rainfall from yesterday evening. So this morning, from both axes of the Amarnath cave, there is heavy overcast with intermittent rains on certain points, because as we know, this trek is heavily arduous Himalayan trek, and it becomes slippery when it rains. So this morning, when there was light to heavy rain on many points, the track became slippery, and authorities took a call to suspend the Yatra temporarily. However, the pilgrims who are stationed in the transit camps along the route, and the helicopter services have been resumed from the Nunuman base camp this morning, and around 9,000 pilgrims who were stationed, who are overnight stay at Panchtarni, which is the last stop from the Nunuman side, Pahalgam side towards the cave. These people have been allowed to move forward towards the cave. But overall, the Yatra has been temporarily suspended, and authorities are taking proper all measures to ensure that no untoward incident happens to any yatri, because if the yatra is allowed during the bad weather, there is every likelihood that the slippery condition of the road may result in fatalities and injuries to the pilgrims. So naturally, the authorities took this call to suspend the yatra till the weather improves.
Right, till the weather improves. Thank you so much, Shabida, for giving us all that information from there. And moving on, self-styled godman Surajpal Singh or Bhole Baba broke his silence on Saturday in connection with July's second Hathras stampede, which claimed 121 lives. Surajpal Singh expressed grief and condoled the deaths at the tragedy and said those who created the chaos will not be spared. Meanwhile, the main accused, identified as Dev Prakash Madhukar, has been taken into custody by Uttar Pradesh police on Friday. Madhukar is the only accused named in the FIR lodged in connection with the incident. 6 people, including 2 women volunteers, had been arrested in the case till now. As per the police FIR, around 250,000 people had gathered despite permission being given for only 80,000. A 3-member Judicial Inquiry Commission will investigate the incident and submit its report to the state government after 2 months. And birth anniversary of Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee, founder of Bharatiya Jana Sangh, is being observed today in India. Mukherjee, who was also an educationist, sharp speaker, was also known for his faceted personality. Born in the year 1901 in Kolkata, Mukherjee was a great advocate of the abolition of Article 370 of the Indian Constitution that gave special status to northern state of Jammu and Kashmir. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee dedicated his entire life to the nation and left for his heavenly abode on the 23rd of June 1953. Tribute started pouring in. Several leaders paid floral tribute to the leader on his birth anniversary. Also, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi paid his tribute to the great leader Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee on his birth anniversary. Sharing a video in remembrance of Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee, PM took to X and wrote, and I quote, "Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee made Mother India proud with his strong nationalist views. His dedication and sacrifice for the motherland will always inspire the countrymen." Unquote. And now let's take a look at other stories making news today. Nation is observing the death anniversary of India's first Dalit Deputy Prime Minister Babu Jagjeevan Ram. On the occasion, his daughter and former Lok Sabha Speaker Meera Kumar paid floral tribute to him at Samtiya Sthal in New Delhi. Babu Jagjeevan Ram was a great freedom fighter, a devoted leader of the Congress and the voice of millions of untouchables of the country. He was also a member of the Constituent Assembly. The first session of India's 17th Odisha Legislative Assembly is set to commence on July 22nd. The session will begin with State Governor Raghubar Das' address and will be followed by a motion of thanks on the Governor's address. Reportedly, the Odisha budget for 2024-25 will be presented on the 25th of July. With the annual Jagannath Yatra or Chariot Festival just a day away, preparations are reaching their final stages to ensure a smooth and safe journey of devotees. 24-hour control rooms and medical kits for devotees in every bus deployed for the Yatra will be arranged. Jagannath Yatra is the symbolic journey of 3 deities, Lord Jagannath, his elder brother Balabhadra and the sister Subhadra. And still to come, indeed India News Hour. In Wimbledon Open, Jannik Sinner switches to cruise mode as he advances to the 4th round. Indian cricket team will begin their 5-match series against Zimbabwe on Saturday. And Spanish fans were overjoyed after their team advanced to Euro semi-finals in a thrilling encounter.
Our forests really do support our existence in crucial ways. Let's find some inspiration on what we can do for them.
We started creating a fire line to save the trees. To fight fires nowadays, We use advanced technologies like early warning systems. The Forest Survey of India's Fire Alert website.
Mining is happening to such a big extent that hill after hill is being razed to the ground.
We're going to plant only local species. We got an expert on hand. We reached out to experts who knew about what it means to take on.
So if we look at the way the indigenous communities have managed the food system, you will see a component of diversity.
NESPAS now supports more than 130 villages in northeastern India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and time now for some business news. Indian government on Friday dismissed Congress's misleading claims on the recent mobile tariff hikes. The government asserted that India's mobile tariffs are among the lowest globally. The telecom ministry said the market operates through demand and supply forces, which try regulating tariffs. Adding further, it said, argued that over the past 2 decades, the rates of mobile services had been kept under forbearance by the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India. And Germany's coalition government clinched a 2025 budget deal on Friday. The deal aims to boost economic growth and finance a significant military overhaul to meet NATO targets while adhering to the country's strict borrowing rules. The deal was reached after months of negotiations in Chancellor Olaf Scholz's fractious 3-way coalition. Scholz's Social Democrats, Economy Minister Robert Habeck's Greens and Finance Minister Christian Lindner's Free Democrats have been battling to resolve differences over future cuts and spending plans. Lindner emphasized the need to reinstate the debt brake, while the SPD and Greens advocated for investment funds with flexibility. You're watching DD India News, and time now for sports stories. Spain defeated host Germany 2-1 after extra time in a dramatic Euro 2024 quarter-final on Friday to set up a last-four clash against France. With the two sides level at 1-1 after 90 minutes, Mikel Merino struck the decisive blow for Spain in the 119th minute with a brilliant header to send his side through to the semis. Spain will now focus on recovering for Tuesday's semi-final against France, who won against Portugal after penalties. Meanwhile, later in the night, France downed Portugal on penalties in the second quarter-finals, following a goalless draw to set up a last-four meeting with Spain. A largely dull 120 minutes saw both sides struggle to create clear chances in Hamburg before Joao Felix was the only player to miss in the shootout and Theo Hernandez netted the winning spot kick. And in Wimbledon Open, Jannik Sinner switched to cruise mode as the world number one breezed past unseeded Serb Miomir Kekmanovic for a place in the fourth round on a damp Friday. A backhand rocket earned Sinner the early break and set the tone for the opening set, which he sealed in 21 minutes, dropping only one late game. Meanwhile, Kekmanovic came into the match with an uphill task, having never beaten Sinner in 3 previous meetings. The winners continued to flow from Sinner's racket as the lanky top speed raced to another huge lead in the third set, and Kekmanovic put himself out of his misery with an error. And in cricket, Captain Shubman Gill and Abhishek Sharma will open for India in the first T20 international against Zimbabwe on Saturday as the world champions begin their journey in the post-Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli era. The T20 World Cup hangover is still on back home, but a Shubman Gill-led side will be keen on making a mark and proving their mettle in alien conditions. All eyes will be on the young bunch that has shown a lot of promise in the IPL 2024 season. All eyes will be on the replacements for the big three, Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma and Ravindra Jadeja, as they announce their T20 international retirements after the World Cup triumph in Barbados last Saturday. Well, the Spanish fans were overjoyed on Friday after their team sent the host out of the tournament in the last minute of extra time. Pouring out of the stadium, waving flags and cheering, Spanish fans said it had been an incredible match and sent their love to Spain.
¡Nos vamos a Berlín! ¡Sí, sí!
Essa noite da noite.
Jubilant fans out there. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Nipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.